There's power in agreement. And when the church comes together, Jesus promised to be in our midst. So right now, as we go before the Lord in worship and give, He's with us. He's listening. He's watching. He cares for us. And God has a wise plan for our lives. So we are staying in it as we give, as we pray, as we worship, as we honor God, live for Him every day. We're staying in the race. It's important that God's never going to drop out. You know, He's the ruler of the universe. But it's important that we stay in the race. And especially when we're being persecuted, especially when we're having a test or a trial in our lives, especially when we're being challenged. You know, when you don't hear God, when you don't think He's there, He is there for sure. I want to share a word with you as we're giving, and please avail yourself to the buttons on the screen and all the various ways that you can give through the House of Destiny and to the House of Destiny. And let me read this little blessing to you. It's from Anna. She says, I called for prayer last spring regarding the sale of a condo, which had been a nightmare. Every one of us have had these nightmares, haven't we? Whether it's selling something or just a situation in life. We're praying about it. We've prayed about it. She says, for your information, it sold approximately 3 weeks ago for a greater price. Everyone say greater price. A greater price than we anticipated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, thank you, Anna. That encourages our faith. And the scripture tells us to not grow weary in well-doing. God wants to multiply our seed sown. But we've got to sow something in order for Him to multiply it. And then we need to not grow weary in well-doing. In other words, there's a standing time. And we're going to stand until Jesus comes back. We're going to stand until we see Him face to face. But in the meantime, in between times, we're going to get blessings from God. We're going to get commissioned by God. We have our marching orders, God's plan for our lives. And so we stay in the race. We stand on the foundation that is stable in a very unstable world. And as we give, it's worship unto the Lord. And God promises to multiply the giving and the generosity of His people. So Lord, bless the House of Destiny. Thank you for richly providing, not only for the ministry, but the people are the ministry. And thank you, Lord, for launching your kingdom around the world continually in the saving name of Jesus Christ, we pray. And everyone said, amen.
Hello, House of Destiny family. It's Bree here with Destiny Kids, and I want to remind you and your kiddos that we have brand new videos every week on our Destiny Kids channel and on our website. So make sure that you're gathering your family all together, and I'll see you right there on Destiny Kids.
Welcome to Conversations. We're so glad you joined us today because we have a very special guest on our program who knew my husband Kim since 1993, has followed the ministry for all those many years, and has been following the prophecies that have been unfolding. As many of you that have followed Kim's ministry throughout the years, you know how accurate some of his prophecies were, and especially to individual people, and then after that on to nationwide prophecies. So we're very, very glad to have Delora with us today. Welcome, Delora. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome. So good to see both of you. It's been a lot of years.
It's been a while, but we are, yes, it's been a number of years, about six or seven.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see how what's happened in the world since Kim passed. I mean, we all just relied on him so much, and now we're relying on God's word through him. So it's awesome to see God's word coming to pass, and God is still speaking today. He speaks through the prophets of today, and we are just so overwhelmed with what's going on especially in the United States, and how his prophecies have been unfolding and so on. So welcome. We're glad to have you, Delora. We've got a lot of catching up to do.
Thank you so much. I really miss you guys. Opening those den meetings with for Kim were some of the best moments of my life. Really.
Yes.
I know, those were definitely the good old days. But you know what? I just want to say this before we begin, Delora. I actually don't know you unless, we might have met briefly. If you met my dad in 93, I would have been about 13. And I know I did spend some time up there in New York and traveling around. So I'm sure we've crossed paths, but we don't know each other. And not on a more personal level.
Yes.
And I kept hearing your name. Okay, so just over the last couple of months, your name kept popping up, and I thought it was Dolores. And then I saw, oh no, it's Delora, and I kept hearing your name. And I've quit social media. I'm off Facebook, Instagram, all of it. I'm not interested. However, I did venture into TikTok at someone's recommendation, and I was scrolling through TikTok. I decided to make my dad a TikTok, because why not put him there? And as I'm scrolling, I found you being interviewed. And I thought, this is the woman whose name I keep hearing. And here she is in my phone. So I listened to what you had to say, and you were talking about Maricopa County. And you told me something that day that I did not know. And so I want you to share it with my dad's people, with our warriors, because there's been so much disappointment, especially when we had an idea in our minds of how things were going to go according to what was prophesied. And God, typical of God, he likes to surprise us and never does things the way we expect, which is not a bad thing. But there is definitely some very intricate code breaking that's been going on behind the scenes here. And so to hear you bring that to light just opened me up, because I can't even express how dismayed I was after the elections last year and trying to understand. Because, my dad prophesied in February of 2014. He specifically said, God says, I will fool the people. And that is something that I ponder a lot, because why would God do that? And then you look at the division and the two minds. You think about Elijah, and you look at my dad and the way my dad tackled that same spirit as a prophet in his life, that I think it's all really connected. And so anyway, I'd like for you to tell our audience what you were talking about there with the Trump prophecy, the two terms, and Maricopa County. So go ahead and share that with everybody.
Okay.
Because I know you want to hear this.
Your dad, sadly, I never got to know you personally. Obviously, I got to know your mom. I also found out that she really loves Italian food. Because we've made it for her. I'm sure you were around, and maybe in the future we will get to know each other better, and that would be wonderful. As I said, your dad had an impact on our lives personally, and now in our ministry that is happening in a way that both of you probably don't even know, because as you said, it's been since 2015. And that's when things started, and actually 2016, sorry, it was 2016. So it's been 5 years, almost 6 years. But what has happened is that I have, because of the impact he had on our life and the personal words he's given us, and just sitting under him for all those years in LA, and then working with him and speaking to him on a more personal basis, was made such a difference that even when he went home to be with the Lord, his words did not fade. His words became more enlightening. And so now that God over the last 6 months has moved me into more of a visual, visible kind of ministry online, and I'm getting called for interviews and stuff. And I believe that one was Nino Rodriguez. I believe that was the one that I said, and it hit me, the revelation that's coming now. It's his, prophetic words do not have an expiration date. If you look at Isaiah about Christ, I mean, it's pretty obvious. It was like 800 years. So your father and your husband's words are now becoming, the light is shining on them. God is shining the light on them, I think, because people were so concerned about, saying he didn't say this, he said this didn't happen. And they were so involved in that now that he has gone home, it's an interesting thing that his words are standing on their own. And so when I ever saw that in February 10th, 2007, in Scottsdale, Arizona, Kim said that Trump would be in office for 2 terms. Now, this is, if I can go back, I believe it was the month prior, was the first time he really named Trump. He would be a trumpet. And here's Trump. He's on The Apprentice. And he's this kind of caricature, cartoon type of figure. And I remember after that, Jane, and you were in the office, I don't know if you remember this, and I said, Trump? And Kim went, yep. And so that played back over and over in my mind. And then when I heard again, Trump will be in office for 2 terms, Scottsdale, Arizona. And then I was watching what was going on with the audit in Scottsdale, Arizona. I went and looked up and saw that Scottsdale, Arizona is in Maricopa County. And Maricopa County is where they're doing the audit, the first audit. Now, that's the first domino. And I know, I've gotten to know, and I listen all the time to the words from decades ago and from a personal word and words for our daughter. He must have given my youngest 10, 15 words that are starting to come to pass. So now the words are becoming full of life because prophetic words are full of life. They live. They're a living being thing. They're a living entity. So that now everything started coming together for me. And now what you guys don't know is that the word in 2015 that your father gave to Dennis and I and a couple of other members of our family, it was an off week for me and I didn't have to open. But I got a call from Kim's executive assistant saying, you got to come, you got to get here. And we speeded up and got there, and Kim came out and said, stand up, all of you. And you guys have this word. It was March something of 2015. The week before, he had given a word about mega churches are going to change. And it's going to be house to house, and there's going to be gatherings. And in fact, Charlie Jordan, who does a roundtable with me every Friday with a couple of other pastors, played that or spoke about that, and we discussed it. And what happened was that word hit our heart, and we were looking for where's God going to use us now? And not that we didn't feel we were being used, it's just we knew there was something there. And so when we came in, Kim told us to stand up, and he said, you've been striking at the rock and striking at the rock. And you've been getting results, but they've been holding it back on you. They've been holding it back. And he said, but the years, and he started 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 2021. That's when the treasure will come forth. They cannot hold it back. Religion cannot hold that door shut, and it will open and you will see the treasure. Well,
Wow.
we just had
We're
that
almost at 21.
2021. Here we are. The gathering. He spoke in the office about there'll be gatherings and people will gather. And when they gather, and there'll be big gatherings, there'll be small gatherings, there'll be house to house gatherings. And when they gather, the greater works will come forward. And he's telling us this in the office after our word and after he prophesied the week before about how things are going to change and churches are going to look different. This past October 16th. So let me tell you what happened. We're listening to this word. We're listening to this word. We know now the gathering. We're putting it together with the word he gave us, putting it together with what's happening, putting it together with 2021. My husband and now we know. Where did Kim go? Where did he plow? Where did he sow? Even though we're not there anymore. New York. He always wanted to break open New York. So we hear from God. Go to New York. Have a gathering. We didn't know what to do. Someone contacted us, a person who is an event planner. Where do you guys hear this? An event planner. We did not know her. She's in New York. We got a witness. This woman's going to help us do this. She started opening things up. This is available. This is available. Then it wasn't available. There was nothing available. What are we going to do? We didn't know. We knew it had to be in the fall. At one point, Kim said, they will fall in the fall. We knew. Then we heard Robin Bullock say, who followed Kim, say that it's the battle for New York. Kim had said that. It's the battle for New York. Now both of them. I'm hearing both of them. So we contacted Robin Bullock. He got a complete witness. This is the battle for New York. We'll come. And we all felt it would be a Gideon's Army warrior event. 300 people. What opens up? The only date, October 16th, which happens to be the date of the first Planned Parenthood, October 16th, 2016, in New York. We get there, the only place open, Trump National Club, hold only 300 people on October 16th. We went, 300 people came, we spoke, we prophesied, we blowed shofars. I played the word in that meeting that Kim gave us, and I said, this is the treasure. Now, everything's opening up to us. We're coming to California. God said, California next. Now, finances are being given. Everything's falling into place. Now we're going to California the end of January. And what I just text Charlie Jordan was, where did Kim sow? Because it's been prophesied we will hit all 50 states and open up and ignite and come against religion and ignite churches once again, because we have fallen. It's on us what is going on. We sat back and we let it all happen. It can never happen again. And this that is moving on us in a movement in such an incredible way, guys, was birthed in Kim's office in 2015 and in that word. And we are going to hit every state first that he sowed into.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
That is incredible. See, I knew I was supposed to speak to you today because I kept hearing your name and I saw you there on TikTok and you showed me something I didn't know. And I just knew today that we were meant to be having a conversation. And we had a little bit of difficulty even connecting today because the devil didn't want us speaking.
That's right.
But we overcame that, and here we are together. And it really shows you how, a lot of times we live in a world where we just want instant gratification all the time. And prophecy doesn't work that way. Not biblical prophecy, not modern prophets like my dad, the New Testament prophets like my dad. It's not going to just be instant gratification, and it's different now. And that's something else that's happened since my dad passed away. We cannot do things the way it was when he was here. And God has put us into this position where we have to really rely on him. And so much of my dad's ministry was about teaching people to hear God for themselves, which I think is very crucial for us right now, is to have that deeper connection with God in this time. And also to discover the dynamic in the demonic. And that's something Dad preached about a lot, and I'm sure you remember that. But the dynamic, there is a dynamic here, and we're starting to see that. A change, a lot of change. So many things are changing. Technology is changing. Communication is changing. Travel. And you have that combat of the enemy, which seems so overpowering and overwhelming, which is that Fourth Reich that he prophesied coming. And the rise and a Fourth Reich that would fall is what he saw. And so we're in the middle of that. And what we have to remember is something that Dad taught about all the time, is you don't allow your present circumstances to dictate your future. And you have to keep your eye on that future and not allow this to hold you back. So something like that gave me so much hope, because I realized, and this is the intricacy of prophecy, is that not only did he say Trump would be a trumpet, Trump would serve 2 terms. He very specifically said that. I don't remember him saying that about other presidents. There's a reason he had to say that, because of the questions that have come up. And I think this is exposing much more than just something going on in the 2020 election and people not liking Trump. I think it's exposing a darkness that has crept into the governing powers of not just America, but in the world. And Trump literally was a trumpet. He made a noise, being an outsider, looked behind the curtain and said, hey guys, look what's going on here. And the corruption that I have witnessed, especially over the last year, has been in both parties. Now, I'm not saying there's bad people and good people. It's enough corruption that they're getting away with this. And what God has done is opened our eyes to it. All of our eyes are on that now. Whereas, I mean, growing up, how much attention did we really pay to politics? Now we know everything. Now we have the ability to make a change. And I think that's the season that we're in. And that's what God was using my dad to prepare us for. So when you go back and you watch that old stuff, it's not just old sermons. Everything he was doing was for us to utilize now. It was tools, it was armor, it was so much. And it's so much more than, he prophesied an event. It isn't just an event. He not only prophesied what to expect, but God, through my dad, gave us the tools we need to combat this and overcome it. And that's essentially what I'm seeing,
you know what's
got
interesting?
out of all of this.
Yeah,
but the
you know
fact
what's
that
very
he was,
interesting? I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
There's
go
a
ahead.
delay.
Yes, it's okay.
There's a delay.
Go ahead. I was just going to say the fact that he's in Maricopa when he prophesied that was, just the fact that he was in Maricopa County is incredible.
Well, it's interesting. There's and I've spoken to this a couple of people about this. First time I'm talking about it really in public. But your dad said, the president will have hot blood and he will basically be verbose and speak, and he's going to say what he wants to say. I mean, that's basically what it was saying. But then in another prophecy, he says he will be very quiet and he won't say much. And I could not find them, and I'm hoping you guys have them, but if you can hear what I'm saying, and I'm sure you remember the word. People said, how does that work? How can they both be about Trump? Very easily they can be about Trump. And I'll tell you why. When he came in, he was that. He had hot blood. He said what he had to say. He rattled cages, and he said he was going to drain the swamp, and everything we know and everything that your father prophesied. Yes. But then about the quiet part, people are not realizing that when he didn't lose, but when he was told he lost the 2020 election, all the way through until maybe March or April, no one heard a word from him. He was very quiet. Both of those
That's right.
words follow both Trump both times.
And he was silenced. He was
Yes.
silenced. They took him off Twitter. I mean, you've got the leader of Iran saying the most despicable things about Christians and Jews, and he's fine to be on Twitter, but they took the President of the United States off of Twitter. That is a big problem. He was silenced too. So you have him voluntarily quietening down, and who knows what was going on behind the scenes there. But
That's
also, you have also what my dad saw about him being baptized in the Spirit. And you think about his term, how many people went and prayed for him and prayed with him, and how he remembered to remember God. He remembered to use the name, and on multiple occasions, the name Jesus. The name, he honored God, and in the way society is now, especially with some of these loonies, it's like you're not even allowed to say that anymore, which is, I think, part of that Fourth Reich thing. But it's starting to come together, but not in the way we expected, which is okay with me. What I anticipated in my little human mind, what God can do is so much greater, and it's so much better to sort of let that go and allow God to do it His way and allow His will be done, because it's always going to be better that way. So no matter how discouraged we may have felt over this past year, and even now, and we're seeing everything just seems to be just going into all the wrong directions, that God still has this under control. And I know that at the end of this, we're going to look back in absolute awe at how beautiful it is that He handled us human beings and our little dilemmas.
Well, you know what's interesting?
I guess that's basically what I.
What you just said, Donné, is so interesting, because for years we thought everything was okay, and behind the scenes it was a disaster in pure corruption and pure evil. Now everything looks like it's disrupted. Well, I believe behind the scenes everything is actually being lined up. How anyone can think Trump is not going to do, that Kim is incorrect about the two terms after he prophesied two presidents. Come on. That was, I'll never forget it, 2008. The two presidents. How can there be two presidents? That's what everybody said. So, right away, they throw it away. Now here it is. What? How many years later? Two presidents.
Yes.
And just the fact that he prophesied the two terms, and then look at the huge, massive question that has fallen on that 2020 election. And the obvious fraud, and I'm not scared to say it into this camera, the obvious fraud that I witnessed, because I watched every single hearing. My dad prophesied about Rudy Giuliani. He said, Giuliani, he said, you may mock him, but he will be a watchman in this nation again. And they mocked him and mocked him. But I watched that man sit in hearings, and corrupt judges wouldn't listen, and nobody would listen. That says to me, look, if you won an election fair and square, you'd ask for audits and say, that's the upright. If I was elected for something and then people question it, I would say, look into it then, let's make sure. So the whole behavior is suspicious, and I don't like what I'm seeing, and I think a lot of Americans and a lot of people around the world don't like what has happened with the leadership. And it's opened our eyes to do something and vote in and pay attention to who you're voting for, and not allow that corruption to infiltrate.
You have to keep in mind that there's a spiritual battle going on in the spiritual realm, especially here in the United States, but not only here, around the world. We can see how the enemy is dictating, how there's this struggle going on between good and evil. And, God is in control. he's going to be the ultimate victor in this whole
Yes.
world problem that we're sitting in right now. And I think that my husband's voice was a voice for this country specifically in the time that we're living right now. And so, we can take the biblical prophecies of old. We can take New Testament prophecy. We can kind of put it together, and we can see where we are in the prophetic realm of discovering how we're going to get through this as Christians.
Yes.
We are on the cutting edge right now of what is going to be unfolding for the future, and everyone out there must take comfort in knowing that God knows where you are. He knows your situation. He knows our situation here in the United States. And he knows that this country has been faithful to send ministry throughout the whole world. God is not judging the United States as far as I'm concerned, in that we take care of Israel, and as long as we take care of Israel and we pray, we believe that God is going to restore everything that's been stolen away from us as Christians. But not only that God's ultimate plan for the United States, for the world, is going to come to pass. And we can take comfort in knowing that. So I want everybody out there to understand that you need Jesus in your life. You need to be part of what God is doing in these end times. And for all of you that are struggling with what are they talking about? What is going on? What is this prophecy? God speaks through the Bible. He speaks through prophets. He speaks through teachers and the fivefold ministry. But it's ultimately going to be a choice between good and evil, and you have to choose which side you're going to be on. And so I think that for a lot of people out there, this is some of it's difficult to understand. They don't understand, well, why didn't it happen? Here's his prophecy. Why didn't Trump get elected, right after the other?
It would have been too easy, and a lot of things wouldn't have been exposed.
You think so?
Yes, I think it was necessary for all of this to happen so we could really see. Mm-hmm. That's what God needed us to see. And he used Donald Trump to do that. And like I said, now we know.
Remnant. It's identifying the remnant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say when you were talking. It is a remnant. Dad went on and on about the remnant of people. It's not a lot of people who are going to actually be able to see this for what it is. And I really believe this is where the office of the prophet and the prophetic people come in, because we are the ones who have the eyes to see. And we are responsible then to share that with our brothers and sisters, whether or not they are our enemies, whether or not we agree with them. We have to come with them with the love of Christ and share what we know. And it's up to them to accept it or not, I think, is ultimately how we have to, on the big picture, handle it, because people finding themselves in terrible situations and arguments, and they were divided and hating each other for no reason, and it really has to end. And if we can start there and build from that, always keeping our eyes on, we have this promise, and that comes from God, and I'm not letting go of that. We can navigate through this. I feel excited about this. I feel, there's fear, of course, and worry, but over anything else, I feel excited. I feel like it's a good thing. Bad things are happening so that a good thing can happen. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, I agree 100%. I agree 100%. I think you said it perfectly. And for us to have had with your dad, Donné, a personal relationship, we feel beyond honored. And I talk about it all the time. Probably the best parts of our life were there. And even you, Jane. I mean, I don't know how many times we went to Kim and said, what about this? What do we do with this? What do we do with this? And he would be like, oh, I don't know. Okay, yeah, I know what to do. No, Jane knows. Jane knows. And you would come through with something, and you've saved us many, many times. You probably don't even realize it, how many times you've saved us really terrible situations. And
I'm very practical, you know. I'm quite a practical person. And so when God put the two of us together, I did all the practical stuff, you know, and he did all the spiritual stuff. So I kind of sat back and didn't really worry about that side of things because he was taking care of it. And so if anything was going on, he, of course, would tell me. So I would just deal with all the practical things and the day-to-day stuff. And now I have to get into the spiritual side of things. And so Donné has really come up and she's helped me with all of that.
Well, I'm a lot like my dad, so you and I get along.
Yes.
But you know what, Delora, before we go, because we're running out of time, I just want to give you a chance to just let people know what you're doing and how they can look you up and see what you're up to. Do you have a website, social media?
Very sweet. Well, like I said, we're doing the gatherings that was birthed in your dad's office. And we are now our second one in California at the end of January. You can find me at DeloraOBrien.com, which I speak about your dad on there, and a picture of him actually giving us a word, given the word that we're following right now. Also, Dennis and Delora, The Gathering on YouTube. And just if you put in The Gathering, you're going to find us everywhere because that's where we are right now. But I just want to thank you both for the invitation. And it was an honor. And I was thrilled when I saw that text to invite me on here. I watch you, and I think you're doing an amazing job in your dad and your husband's legacy.
Thank you so much, Delora.
Thank you, Delora. It was just such an honor
You'll
to have
have
you
to
here
come on
today.
again.
Yes, we'll have you back. There's going to be lots to talk about, so you got to come back.
We're expecting
Yes,
a
would
lot
love
to
it.
unfold in the next couple of years, specifically up to 24. I mean, it's going to be very exciting to see what actually happens.
I'm excited too. Donné, you're probably one of the only people that is excited with me. I feel like throwing a parade every day.
I am excited. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Well, and for everybody out there, thank you for joining us today, and we will see you on the next Conversations.
What a great broadcast. We're so happy that you joined us, and we want you to know that we're here to pray with you. Write us at hope@houseofdestiny.org. We'll be sure to gather together, pray over your prayer request, and by all means, send in those wonderful testimonies so we can share those on the broadcast as well.